Alright guys, so I'm over here on the JP version to take a look at the 3rd year anniversary units selector ticket. So I just want to show you guys what we have as far as the JP side of things. I don't think I'm gonna be doing kind of like a tier list for JP, just because I'm not really in the touch for JP stuff. Like I don't really know like the quote unquote meta stuff for even the standard unit. So I'm just gonna quickly show you guys what we talking about, or what we have as a roster, and maybe we can just kind of talk about some of these units and whatnot. So you guys can definitely see some familiar faces, like the Engaged Awakening. We have like the GPO2 for example, and even the Entry Custom Easy 8, and then the Break the J low and code version. So there are some similar stuff that, or I wouldn't say similar stuff, but there are things that Global have already gotten, and the fact that they have appeared on the 3rd year anniversary selected tickets is definitely quite intriguing to me, or quite funny, I would definitely have to say. For JP, there are a lot of consideration as far as something you should pick up or not. Just because in JP, you should also consider the sub skill slot as well. So these are abilities that if you do put into the sub slot for the units, the main unit are gonna gain the benefit of these as well. So sometimes picking up the standard unit can be a benefit depending on what they do. So for example, when we take a look at Entry Custom, things that if I were to get that, I was simply going to be seeing, alright, is the sub skill going to be good or not? So increased accuracy, we have an increased projectile, or sorry, proximity damage up by 10%. And then whenever EX skill pops for 3 seconds, I think we are getting a guaranteed hit. So as a sub-slot unit for blue and close combat units, that is actually quite competent, because getting these two right there is actually pretty cool to have. So even though the unit itself is a flop, but the sub-slot itself is actually, the sub-skill is actually pretty interesting. Same thing for the Rick the J low and code version. This one is actually pretty good because you are getting a 10% proximity damage up, and then whenever EXQ is popped for 20 seconds, you are gaining 20% damage, right? Or am I reading that wrong? But you are getting some pretty good ability in here as well. Yeah, that should be beam damage up. So that's good. That's actually pretty impressive. So if I were to have this, I would definitely be trying my best to get some potential unleash on this unit, so I can use it for my green, melee oriented unit, and they are gonna be doing quite good. Right, I'll definitely have to say there are some pretty recently released unit that we should talk about. Namely, we have the Golf Custom that was recently released. I think this is one of the most recent released unit, and they actually tossed this onto this banner, so that's actually quite a surprise. But I think the downside factor for this unit specifically is the range coverage. We have only ground for space, and then for underwater is not really too usable. It's only for ground. So even though we are packing a lot of stuff in here, ultimately it wouldn't really excel in those specific area. But when we do take a look at the sub skill for this unit, is actually a lot. So beam and projectile just damage up by 10%. And then whenever we pop EXQ to one unit for 3 seconds, you're getting a stun status or something of that nature. So I mean, it could be pretty powerful, right? Even when we take a look at the skill 1 and skill 2, just casually 200k cap increase, evasion by 48%, projectile damage up by 48%, and then when on the ground, 99% evasion rate up, or evasion up by 99%, and EXQ gauge recovery up by 56%. So on ground, this unit becomes an absolute monster. And on the skill 2, the additional weapon, which is going to be this one over here, is going to gain an additional 600k cap, and when battle begins after 5 seconds for 7 seconds, the unit is going to get stunned, and the stun enemy does you can do extra damage to the stun enemy. So just some gimmick stuff, but yeah, I mean, this unit is quite powerful just by being one of the newer unit. But I'll definitely say I don't know if this is like the right pick, but looking at the sub skill, if you are at the mindset of all right, I'm picking up unit simply for the sub slot, it's pretty decent. Let's take a look at this right here. Just haven't really seen this unit a lot. So this is I think it's, what is it, the Gundam Unit 4 BST version, and this one is a bombardment and it's pretty fun stuff. AoE EXQ and to self damage up by 32%, so that's good. Transcendent skill is basic stuff, but you are getting an extra 25% damage up. Okay, dude, this Gundam Unit 4 does look pretty flashy, given what it's doing. But as a bombardment, you're not getting that premium treatment of getting that 48% beam damage to every weapon. So I think that is kind of like a discount of not getting it right off the bat. Because when we take a look at the general scheme of bombardment unit or even snipers unit, they just get double 48% based on HP, while this one is not based on HP. I mean, it depends on the content, I guess, in a way. If you know you're gonna take some damage, I mean, those that does have the damage restriction could be a problem, but I mean, even then, this is only the third weapon. I don't really know about that. But ooh, the sub skill is decent. Range sense up by 10%, or the shooting damage, pretty much the range damage up by 10%, HP up by 10%. Wow. And whenever EXQ is activated to all enemies, 40% damage. Wow, it's pretty good stuff. And I remember this one, Martin Martel, the Awakening version, being a pretty potent unit at the release for JP. I remember specifically probably the skill one being a support. At debuffing the unit is actually pretty nice. It's pretty cool overall. Like really high EXQ damage, something to look out for. And it does have some pretty good survivability within the kit. When you fall below 50%, you recover HP, and you also do gain just beam damage up by 120%, and also accuracy up by 99%, and they all proctor once you fall below 50%. So pretty cool unit overall. As far as the sub skill itself, it's not anything too crazy. I think this is because it is a generic unit. You are just getting pretty much all these stats, pretty much all round stat getting up by 5%, increased accuracy, increased evasion, HP up by 5%, and then respectively both beam and projectile damage up by 5%. Pretty fun stuff. And yeah, once HP falls below 50%, you are getting a range, so this is shooting power up by 30%, so beam damage or shooting damage. Okay, pretty fun. And one unit I'm definitely looking out for global wise is gonna be the narrative B pack. So this is, I wouldn't call this one like the most powerful support out there, because obviously for JP there's just a lot more things that have came out since then. But this one, to Psycho Frame units, they are, not Psycho Frame unit. When you are facing Psycho Frame units, you do extra damage, but that's not the main thing for this unit. We have range sense or shooting damage up by 25%, and then to snipers and generic units, they are getting a damage cap by 20k. So this right here does kind of revive a lot of the older units that constantly hit the damage cap. So this is actually pretty good. Isn't Xeon, and then Xeon is a bombardment, I was gonna say, but when we take a look at Sisakui, what else is a sniper? Zaka, one with a big gun. Those units constantly hitting the damage cap. Getting this one is really nice. Having some damage cap could be fun. And the Transcendent skill does increase furthermore the beam damage, just the range sense. Not range sense, but shooting damage up by 25% for both sniper and generic. So that's cool. That's very nice. And increased accuracy by 28% as well, and 28% plus another 14 to all allies regardless of their typing. Yeah, I mean, whenever we are getting the narrative packs, I would definitely say, for me personally, I would definitely try to get one copy of things. But Yeah, we are talking about EX skill level 5. I'll definitely say at EX skill level 1, we are not going to have the luxury of getting the 200k cap. It's probably going to be maybe just starting out at 100k if I'm being optimistic, or even maybe lower than that, but still it's really powerful with this the transcendent skill and this. But yeah, I'm definitely gonna be trying to get that unit for sure. I don't think there's anything too interesting for the Red Zeta. This is the unit that I can say this better when you are facing off against a Greek unit, being the type advantage. But other than that, there's not really a lot of interesting thing about this unit. Or I guess doing extra damage to, or just doing better against type advantage is the unique thing about this unit. But yeah, not gonna spend too much time on that. We know what this unit does, so I'm not gonna talk about this unit obviously. But the sub skill it is what it is for a generic unit. And as far as GPO2 in the JP environment, I don't have this unit, so I cannot sit here and say this is not going to do a lot. I feel like it will do a lot because having the gear skew, where's this gear skew? Having this right here actually could be very impactful to the atomic bazooka. I don't know if it's really impactful. I don't have it, but given how impactful it is for global, I do have a feeling having the gear skew 2 would make this unit hit pretty hard. I don't know, but I think if we do take a look at some of the more recently released tank unit, like the devastated with the hyper giga cannon, I mean, if you add up everything, I mean, it is doing roughly about the same damage, but I mean, this is to all enemies, so yeah, that's kind of like the main difference of things. But I mean, at this point in time, I feel like the O is just predominantly just the better unit out there as a defensive unit, where to solely rely on this one, like the atomic bazooka, isn't like all that, right? There's just not a lot of like defensive utility in this unit where it's gonna survive in the meta. But I mean, for collection purposes, it may be good. I don't know. Let's talk about the unit real quick. We have the Mark II with the flying armor. This is a fairly cool sniper unit because you do have a lot of like funny business. Increased speed, increased accuracy, HP up by nearly 100%, and the EX skill gauge recovery up by 60%. So this unit is cool, and it still maintains some of the sniper / bombardment aspect of just getting damage up. It's a pretty fun unit overall. Even this is cool. You are getting increased accuracy, the shooting damage up by 10%, and then movement speed up by 15%. So depending on the unit, that can be actually helpful in my opinion. So that's cool. Not gonna talk about every custom because we know what that does already. We have X2. So X2 for a time being was actually quite impactful because this unit has something called the stealth mode. So for 18 seconds, you go into stealth status, which essentially you don't really get targeted. So it is hard for the enemy to find you, and that's cool. And on top of that, EXQ and damage minus 99%. So essentially, this unit, you cannot really do EXQ damage to this unit. You just doesn't take it. But I feel like now having the gear skill, like this little blurb over here, things like the O, just outright blast this unit off the face of the earth, right? So at that point in time, this is really nice having that. And then on top of that, you also do have increased accuracy, and this is so skill 1 is mainly kind of like for the first 18 seconds, and for skill 2 we have things that are for up to 18 seconds. We have proximity damage up by 99%, and then we have absolute evade status. So I mean, for a standard unit at this point in time, being a close combat, dude, this unit was crack. So definitely do look out for this whenever we do have it for global. I would say this unit should be on track with what JP is getting. This unit should be coming out maybe after the 2nd year anniversaries, but for global, I think they'll definitely change things around, maybe release this unit just way in advance. But this is definitely something cool to look out for, as if you guys are like a Crossbone fans. You already know what the unit does. For JP it's a monster. For global it's a nightmare. uh, Whenever they fix the critical rate, critical damage and all that fun stuff, this unit should be really powerful. But at this point in time for global, it's a hot mess. This unit we have already, so I'm not going to talk too much about this unit. Pretty decent damage dealing unit, I guess. It does have all the main core, it does that, but yeah. Gengazo, if I am pronouncing this unit right, it is a bombardment unit, but it does not actually have the core bombardment unit where you're just outright getting a 48% beam damage to both having that. So it is a little bit different for this one. Essentially, every time you're getting hit, EXQ damage up by 36%. I don't know why we need that, but we have that. It's quite funny actually. So this unit prioritizes getting hit, so it is like, why? It's pretty bizarre to me, but you do have some survivability aspect of things. Once you fall below 50% health, you are getting that back, so you get 55% back, so that's kind of cool. And I mean, other than that, I mean, like, is there anything else that I should talk about? Probably not much, I would say. Yeah, this is just a fairly bizarre unit. I do have this unit, and I mean, at the point of release, it was quite powerful. I definitely won't lie about that. And we have another green that is a sniper class. So this one is a Data Plus, if I remember the name correctly. So this one is another recently released unit, and this one does have the main core of just giving you maintaining 100% HP, 80 and 60 you get the following, so double 48 and then increase accuracy. So damage cap up by 1.2 mil and extra 48% beam damage and increased accuracy. So the main drawbacks I feel like for this unit is the fact that you're only getting one hit per each one of these. So an enemy unit that has a pretty high evasion or just guard or whatever, it is gonna suck for this unit because you're not capitalizing on just a lot of these free damage. So yeah, but this one does have an it's gonna be an AoE attacker, so that's fun, obviously. And we have Seema's Galagu M, and this one is pretty much, I would say, similar to the GPO4, where you are depumping the enemy, so that's another one. But other than that, there's not really a lot of interesting aspect for this unit. Besides that, it probably can hold on its own pretty nice with some damage increase right there. And lastly, we have a highly, I don't know if I would call the Zeta GR an highly anticipated tank, but essentially this tank can reflect 33% of beam damage, so it is not an absolute fortress. You can still find ways to defeat this unit, probably with doing AoE EXQ or just EXQ general. But other than that, I mean, it could be a watch for global. I don't know. I'm just kind of speculating because for global, we do have a lot of like pretty monstrous unit out there already, where I feel like you would need very high investment for this unit to make it good. But other than that, that's kind of like the whole roster for JP. And if you guys are asking me what kind of unit would I be picking for myself personally, I mean, I'll definitely go for a unit that I can use as a sub slot, because at this point in time I have already gotten most of the limited unit from JP, so I think what I really need is get a sub slot. So it depends on what I need personally, like if I want things that are more close range, like the proximity damage or the shooting damage, that I'll probably pick. Like for proximity, I'll probably be picking like, you know, Crossman X2 or even like our good pal N3 Custom or some other. But for if you're talking about like doing range damage, for example, I mean, like probably can pick the GPO, the Gundam Unit 4. I mean, it's not too terrible, right? That's probably my mindset at this point in time, but pretty good roster overall. But other than that, that is going to be pretty much it in terms of just talking about what the JP meta has in terms of the 3rd year anniversary selected tickets for units specifically.